At the Marshall today, you still feel you're in some Gilded Age temple to the game of kings. History envelops you, busts of famous grandmasters, vintage photographs of team champions, the very table that Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion, sweated over as he defended his title against Sergei Karyakin in 2016. The Marshall is no museum, though. Entering the place on a weekend during a big tournament is like walking into a human-powered data center. Rows and rows of processors silently calculating, thrumming with intensity, generating heat and a persistent tang of nervous perspiration. The Sunday Beginners Tournament was strictly small stakes for players rated under 1200 or having no rating at all. Most grandmasters have ratings above 2500. I had the newbie rating of 100. My day had started promisingly. Against my first opponent, John, a gray-haired man with the look and quiet gravity of a scholar, I'd initially fallen behind on material, as pieces are called in chess. As the game drew on, he tried to press his advantage, and yet I kept fighting, finding inventive obstacles to his victory. To each of these he would respond with a small, tired sigh. I could feel his discomfort, and with each sigh I seemed to grow in strength. Then, with my own king nearly surrounded, I spotted the chance for a checkmate. I just needed him not to see it. There's an old expression in chess that the winner is the player who makes the next to last mistake. And indeed, my opponent played offense when he needed to be playing defense, moving a pawn toward what he assumed was my demise. As I slid my rook into position, trapping his king along the A file, the first vertical row on a chessboard, a slow, queasy realization spread across his face. My next opponent, Eric, was a serviceman on leave from Afghanistan, where he spent a lot of downtime playing online chess. He knew he'd be coming through New York on a visit stateside and had dedicated time for a martial pilgrimage. He looked a bit like the actor Woody Harrelson, buzz-cut, grizzled, with a 1,000-yard stare. Our match was tense and close-fought until he captured one of my rooks with a bishop pin. After I resigned, he looked relieved and said I had played much better than my rating would indicate, the first words he had uttered. That morning's grouping, everyone from U.S. Army Rangers to AARP members to fidgety kids, was typical of the Marshall's Beginners Tournament. The age range at the Marshall must have spanned 6 decades, but we were all, in the eyes of chess, beginners. There is a wonderful purity to chess's rating system, which renders distinctions like age largely irrelevant. Chess is one of the few skilled endeavors in which children can acquire a proficiency on par with adults or above. There are 12-year-olds who will innocently skin you alive. There was one child in the Sunday tournament at the Marshall in whom I had a particular interest, my own daughter. We weren't paired against each other, though that moment would come, and we took very different paths that morning. She placed near the top and collected a check for $84, money that was immediately plowed into Beanie Babies and glitter putty at the corner toy shop. And as I heard her gleefully report to her grandparents on the phone, later that day, my dad finished like 40th out of 51. What had I gotten myself into? One day a number of years ago, I was deep into a game of holiday checkers with my daughter, then almost 4, in the small library of a beachfront town. Her eye drifted to a nearby table where a black and white board bristled with far more interesting figures. Many a future chess master has been innocently drawn in by horses and castles. "What's that?" she asked. "Chess," I replied. "Can we play?" she pleaded. I nodded absently. There was just one problem. I didn't know how. I dimly remembered having learned the basic moves as a kid, but chess had never stuck. This fact vaguely haunted me through my life. I would see an idle board in a hotel lobby or a puzzle in a weekend newspaper supplement and feel a pang. I had picked up a general awareness of chess. I knew the names Fischer and Kasparov. I knew that the game had enchanted historical luminaries like Marcel Duchamp and Vladimir Nabokov. I knew the cliché about grandmasters being able to look a dozen moves ahead. I knew that chess, like classical music, was shorthand in movies for genius, often of the evil variety. But I knew chess the way I knew the Japanese language, what it looks like, what it sounds like, its Japaneseness, without actually comprehending it. I decided I'd learn the game, if only to be able to teach my daughter. Learning the basic moves was easy enough. It took a few hours, hunched over my smartphone at kids' birthday parties, or waiting in line at Trader Joe's, to get a feel for the basic moves. Soon, I was playing, and sometimes even beating, the weakest